Hello everybody, welcome to the second video of this tutorial series, and in this video we will talk a bit more about the Openthread, and in the end I will also give you a bit of information about the example projects that we will be doing. So just to recap from the previous episode, IEEE 802.15.4 is the physical and link layer for Openthread. It's it's from the IEEE. It's a standard from the IEEE. Then 6LoWPAN was the goal of 6LoWPAN was to enable IPv6 communication over IEEE 802.15.4. It includes some frame compression and some fragmentation, basically breaking IPv6 packets into small pieces and things like that to enable IPv6 communication over IEEE 802.15.4. And 6LoWPAN was a working group from IEGF. So here you can have a look at the history as well. And if you see here, it's basically this was then closed. Probably the reason was that they basically did their task. The specification was done, and then the group was closed. And after some time, Thread and Openthread, or basically Thread organization was created by these bigger companies to ensure that there was a unique or a unified wireless communication standard or technology available that would be interoperable. And Thread was basically, they took what 6LoWPAN did and made some certifications around it. Through these certifications, they ensure that the different products that different companies make are interoperable. And then there is the Matter, which is also using Thread plus some other IP-based protocols for smart home applications. And that was the background. Now going into components of a Thread network stack. So what kind of components do we have? So as we already know, on the right diagram, 6LoWPAN was to enable IPv6 communication over IEEE 802.15.4, and that is basically what you can say is Thread. Just in this diagram from Nordic, they have 6LoWPAN, IP routing, and UDP. So IP routing is basically, you can say, is some kind of protocols that are added on top of 6LoWPAN to allow for mesh networking. And UDP is then the transport layer protocol, because I guess you can use TCP as well, but because of the packet losses and things like that, almost all the application layer protocols then use UDP. And the application layer protocols that are popular with Thread are CoAP, and then there is MQTT SN. So MQTT, the normal MQTT, is using TCP, and then the MQTT SN is using UDP. In IP routing, we would talk a bit more. So as you know, Thread is IPv6 based, and then each device have 3 or 4, I don't know the total number, we will know when we reach there, has basically 3 or 4 IPv6 addresses, and those are basically scoped addresses. We will talk a bit more about that in the coming videos. Another view of the same diagram from Silicon Labs. Here you can see the corresponding RFCs that are related to each layer, and yeah, those are from These mostly these RFCs are from 6LoWPAN group. I guess some of them are from some different stuff. I haven't had a chance to look at all of them, but feel free to do so if you want to. These are openly available. Another comparison, just a comparison between Zigbee and Thread. So Thread is IPv6 based, and that means the communication to cloud is a bit simpler because there is no need for a big translation. The only translation that's probably needed is at the link level, or just translating the stuff from the media level. You can say the upper layers are then the same, and the border routers are then very simple. In Zigbee, the border router is a bit more complicated because it needs to translate from I guess at the network layer as well. So it needs to translate from Zigbee to IP, and in Thread, the traffic is already IP, so you just need to translate the lower layers. Then there is the concept of device types in Thread. You can basically have them in two ways. You can classify them in two ways. So one is basically a router device, which allows to route packets, which also can route packets, you can say. And the end device cannot route packets. It's just a sensor or a low power device. Here on this side, you can see the full thread device and the minimal thread device. So when you are implementing the firmware for a thread device, you either implement a full thread device or a minimal thread device. A minimal thread device has two. So one minimal thread device is basically, you can say, is always on, but still it has limited networking capabilities and is not able to route. That means it uses less resources, less power. Then a sleepy end device is basically waking up periodically, doing some communications, and then going back to sleep. And it's the lowest power consumption. It has the lowest power consumption. Full thread devices then can be just a can be an end device as well, but usually those have a bit more power consumption or resource consumption, and based on how the network is, how the structure of the network is. It's a mesh network, so it can change. So a full thread device can upgrade itself, or the network can upgrade it to a router or router eligible end device. These two can be upgraded, and basically if the network needs additional routers, then the network leader can decide to upgrade some of these devices. For implementation purposes, for now we don't need to go too much into details, but these basic informations are good to know. Then about our examples. So we will use NRF52840 from Nordic Semiconductors, and the reason is because this is mostly one of the most documented devices from Nordic, very well used, and there's just a lot of documentation for it. So it's very good for beginners. The software stack from Nordic is now based on Zephyr. So a lot of the knowledge that we learn from here would be transferable. And Zephyr is an operating system for IoT, and also it supports a lot of different hardware types. So what we learn here can be transferable to other platforms. Also, Nordic has really nice toolings. So the setting of efforts will be very less, and we can focus on learning about Thread instead of fixing our tools all the time. Just to give you an idea of what we would be doing. So the first would be basically setting up our development environment. I would do that as well, record it and show it to you. But if you want to do it before, then there's some really nice video tutorials from Nordic on their YouTube channel. And this one is a really recent one, a few months old. So you can go ahead and do that before as well. We would first run our just a basic hello world example to ensure that everything is working. And then we would go to a second example, which would be the communication between two nRF52840 devices. These would be full thread devices, and we would use Openthread CLI to configure the network. Openthread CLI is basically would be basically a firmware that we would flash here and here, and then from the UART we can interact with the device. The UART would present us with a CLI that we can interact and interactively set up the networking parameters and send pings from one device to another. And here at this point I would also give you some information about the IP addressing, IPv6 addresses and things like that. Once we have this, then we would add a border router into this network, and this would allow us to send packets from this device into cloud, and we would send a ping from here into cloud. Our border router would be basically an nRF52840 dongle with my Ubuntu machine, and I will show you how to set that up, and then we would run the software in a Docker, so you won't need to do too much. I would show you how to do that as well. Then once we have the time, we would try to simulate these examples using something called Renode. So Renode allows us to simulate SoCs, and nRF52840 board is also supported there. It supports a lot of other hardwares as well, and it supports simulating the transmission medium as well. So we can basically simulate communication between two devices on Renode, and we will do that. And one of the advantages of this is that then you can run this in terminal or in CI, and maybe you can also run some automated tests then on your firmwares to ensure that it is doing what it's supposed to do, and you won't need real hardware for that. That would be a really nice thing to do. I don't have a lot of experience with Renode, but I guess we would learn together. So maybe at this point, if the interest is there, we can try to do some live streams as well. Once we have the basic example done on Renode, we will extend it with a border router. It will be interesting to see how we can have a border router. I guess you can have it simulated within Renode, or maybe something outside of Renode, whatever, and have some kind of IP connectivity with it. But we will see how this would play out. But these last two examples are basically something new for me as well. So it would be very interesting to do that and yeah, learn together. That's it for this video, and I hope it was up to your expectation, and in the next video then we will start with setting up the development environment. And yep, thank you for watching, and see you again next time.